Today, let's get into the incredible story of Boudica. We're talking about a Celtic queen who, back in AD 61, led a rebellion so fierce, so absolutely ferocious, that it almost kicked the most powerful empire on the planet right out of Britain.
So, you gotta ask yourself, right? What could possibly happen to push a leader from trying to keep the peace to declaring all-out war, especially against the Roman freaking Empire?
For her, it all came down to one thing: betrayal. A really brutal, personal betrayal that was about to set an entire province on fire. This isn't just a story about a rebellion, it's a story of pure revenge.
Okay, so to really get what happened, you have to understand the world she lived in. Roman Britain was basically a powder keg, just waiting for a spark. And our story kicks off in a place called Colchester, which was the very first capital of Roman Britain.
You can really see the massive clash of cultures here. On one side, you've got the Romans, building their world right on top of somebody else's. In Colchester, they set up what's called a colonia, basically a retirement community for their veteran soldiers. And on the other side, well, you've got the native Britons, the local tribes whose lands were just taken. And that resentment was just simmering, right below the surface.
And right in the thick of all this tension, we find Boudica. She was the queen of the Iceni people, a really powerful tribe from the area we now call Norfolk. And she wasn't just some distant royal. She was a leader, trying to figure out how to navigate this dangerous new reality.
So how does all that simmering tension just explode into open rebellion? Well, every fire needs a spark. And for Boudica, that spark was a truly shocking betrayal from the Romans, right after her husband, the king, died.
See, her husband, King Prasutagus, he thought he had a pretty clever plan. He decided to play by the Roman rules. In his will, he made the Emperor Nero a co-heir to his kingdom, right alongside his own 2 daughters. He figured this would buy his family protection, a kind of insurance policy to keep the peace.
But that plan, it failed spectacularly. The Romans didn't just ignore the will, they tore it to shreds. The local Roman official, a guy named Licinius Quietus, just swooped in and seized all the Iceni lands for himself. And then they did the unthinkable. To humiliate them, Roman soldiers publicly flogged Boudica and assaulted her daughters. It was an act of unimaginable cruelty.
And that was the breaking point. The queen was gone. In her place stood a warrior. Pushed way beyond her limit, Boudica rallied her people and other tribes who hated the Romans with this powerful cry for vengeance. Diplomacy was dead. This was war.
Her first target, the city that stood as the symbol of Roman oppression, Colchester. She wasn't alone. Neighboring tribes like the Trinovantes, who'd also had their land stolen, joined her. This massive tribal army marched on the city, and they were out for blood.
Now, this is where the story gets really incredible, because this isn't just legend. We have actual proof. Archaeologists, digging right under the modern city of Colchester, have found undeniable evidence of the absolute fury she brought down on that city.
They call it Boudica's lair, and it's exactly what it sounds like. A thick, dark layer of ash, charcoal, and burned stuff. It's the physical scar left on the earth by the fire that completely leveled the Roman capital. It's history, literally frozen in time.
Can you just imagine the sheer panic? The city is burning, there's no army there to protect you. People were desperate. They started burying their most precious things in the ground, just hoping, praying they'd survive to come back and dig them up. A lot of them never got the chance. This is what's known as the Fenwick treasure, a whole stash of valuables found buried under a shop floor. I mean, look at this stuff. Gold and silver armlets, rings, coins. This isn't just treasure. It's a little time capsule of someone's last desperate moments as their world turned to ash.
But Boudica's revenge didn't stop with Colchester. Not even close. Her success was terrifyingly fast, and the rebellion spread across the province like an unstoppable wildfire.
Just look at this timeline. It shows you how incredibly fast this all went down. We're talking about a single year. After Colchester, her army marches on and sacks Londinium. Yep, that's London, and then Verulamium, near modern St. Albans. 3 major Roman cities just wiped off the map. But, as you can see, the Roman legions are finally on the move, and it's all leading to one final epic showdown.
And this is the tragic turning point. Boudica's army was huge, filled with people fighting with incredible passion, but they were up against the most professional, disciplined, and battle-tested fighting machine in the world. The Britons had the numbers and the fury, but the Romans had the tactics, the armor, and the cold, hard efficiency of organized warfare. In the end, discipline beat passion. The rebellion was crushed. Boudica herself died shortly after, though we're still not exactly sure how.
So, was it all for nothing? Just a failed rebellion with a tragic ending? Well, not exactly, because the legacy of what Boudica did was forged in that fire, and it would change Roman Britain forever.
Now, let's be real. The immediate aftermath was grim. The Romans took their revenge, and they were merciless. They punished the tribes that joined the revolt, destroying their homes, their fields, and enslaving people. It was a brutal show of force.
But here's the kicker. This revolt had shaken Rome to its very core. The sheer level of destruction was so shocking that Emperor Nero actually seriously considered just pulling out of Britain entirely, abandoning the whole island. That is how close Boudica came to winning.
And this is where everything shifts. Rome realized that just ruling with an iron fist wasn't going to work. Before Boudica, their approach was all about exploitation, taking whatever they wanted. After Boudica, it had to be more collaborative. They actually started working with local British leaders, focusing more on integrating the province instead of just conquering it.
So in the end, Boudica lost the final battle, but her rebellion sent a message so loud and so clear that it forced the entire philosophy of Roman rule in Britain to change. Her incredible defiance made an empire listen.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. She didn't win, not in the traditional sense, but her actions fundamentally changed the lives of her people under Roman rule. So it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the real meaning of victory?